What are you going to be looking for from this first year? And overall record-wise, what do you think are realistic expectations?
Just eyeballing it, and that's all I've done at this point. I think 6-6 is fair. That's a place to look at as sort of a line of demarcation. I'm also not throwing babies off 7-story buildings if they finish 5-7. What I really want to do, I look at the quarterback position and then I zoom it out just team wide. Could I really look back, whether they go 5-7 or 7-6? Can I look back in December when we're assessing things, hopefully before a bowl game, and say to myself, this team was a lot better in November than it was when it took field in September. This quarterback, Luke Doty, was a lot better in November than what I saw when they took the field in September. If you can say that, you've had a successful season. I'm just telling you, you have. The record may not bear it out, but you also have to understand this is not an apples to apples comparison. You're not going to Sanford Stadium in a pick'em game against Georgia. You're going to be a double-digit underdog. So if you go in there and lose 30-21 and you have a really good show and you force 2 turnovers, finish plus in the margin there, and I mean, you don't just get physically manhandled, that's a huge win. And it gives you something to build on. That's all I want to be looking at. I did the same thing, or had the same thought with a team like Florida State last year. Norvell came in and what I thought was a no-win situation. I'm not comparing. This is not my apples to apples comparison. But I remember doing a radio show down, it was either in Jacksonville or Tallahassee. I know that they love when they get those towns mixed up, but it was down in one of those towns. And there was a little bit of a contentious back and forth with the host, because he just wanted a prediction. He said, you are what your record says you are. It's always been BS when people say that in college. Yeah. Again, that's taken a come to think of it, it was probably a Jaguars beat writer, because that is a pro sports mentality. And it's absolutely true. The margins are so razor thin in pro sports. You are what your record says you are. You're not what your record says you are exclusively in college football. I mean, I watched G5 teams last year end up being in the playoff conversation, playing a schedule that Carolina probably goes 10-2 against last year. So no, you're not always what your record says you are. My eyeballs, though, will pretty readily tell me what you are. And that's independent of what could be going on behind the scenes. But I'm looking at Carolina and I'm just wondering, let's say they go 6-6. Here's my question. Would you rather be 6-6, but all your 6 losses, 4 of them are blowouts, or would you rather be 5-7 and have not lost one game by more than one possession? Like what's better? Because we're not talking about contending for the SEC this year. So if we're trying to build something, what's better? That's why I don't ever think in May, even if I could rub a little magic 8 ball here, some would call that my forehead, but if I could rub that thing and I could say, here's the record, I still don't really think I've learned anything about the team other than the fact that I'll be able to make money at the betting window knowing the record. But I still don't know what that's going to look like. So I'm just looking for progression. That's another P word we could talk about today. Progression. That's what I want to see.